What are you drinking?
Mushrooms.
Like the lion's mane stuff.
Yeah, have you tried it?
Yeah, I think it's gross.
This one's fine. It tastes like mangoes.
Oh, I didn't have that one.
Which one did you have?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was just a blend of mushrooms. It was like raw dogging mushroom stock.
What does raw dogging mean? What? Hi. Hi, I'm Catherine. And look at that little cutie patootie face, that is Rosie. And welcome to our podcast.
26 to Life, where after 26 years, we have been friends for longer than a life sentence.
So now every week we tell each other true crime stories. Are you not knitting today?
No, I'm not. I was.
Sad times.
Yeah, I was knitting. I knitted what I thought was going to be a big blanket, but then I started taking the blanket apart so I could make an even bigger blanket. But now it's just a bit messy, so it's probably best I don't do that on the podcast.
Okay, you need to focus on me. So, before we get into this, be warned, this is a super gory one. It's like quite gruesome.
Yeah.
And this is the story of an absolute freaking loser, and he's a wannabe serial killer.
Oh my God. Wait, I feel like I was going to look into this case. Tell me the name. Oh, no, that wasn't him. Okay, good.
But I've just given away the whole story now. I'm cutting that bit out.
Spoiler alert!
Okay, so we are in Essex, in Colchester. Rose, can you tell us where Colchester is?
Right around Colchester Zoo.
Oh, is there a zoo there?
Yeah, of course! You've never been to Colchester Zoo?
I don't know.
Oh my life, probably. You probably
Did you
have.
work there?
No, but Colchester is in Essex, which is north of London. I think it's like a little bit, I don't really know, but it's not that far from London. I think it's about an hour and a half maybe from London north.
Correct. And we have a young woman. Well, she's 31.
A young woman?
So really young.
Really young.
And her name is Nahid Almanaya. And she is a smarty pants. Like, she's properly clever, this one. I know a lot of people aren't sure about women being clever, but she is studying for her PhD.
What do you mean a lot of people aren't sure about women being clever?
Oh, lots of people at the minute. Have you not heard all the conversations about people just think women are stupid?
No? What?
Where are you living? Have you not, like, we've got America being run by a fascist misogynist. We've got, like, misogyny rife in our...
Yeah, but I didn't realise that people were just saying that women are stupid.
Well, okay, maybe I dumbed down their... Well, is it possible to dumb down their comments? But basically, yeah, they don't think that women are as capable as they are.
What? I'm literally the smartest person I know. And I know a lot of smart people. Do you not
know what misogyny means?
Yeah, why?
That's literally what it means. That they think men are better.
Well, yeah, I know.
They think they're smarter than us. They think they're loads of things better than us.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't think that it was just like them saying... I feel like you've really taken that out of context. I mean, I understand that they're bad and they're putting down women, but... So just say that all women are stupid is a lot.
No, but they say things like, oh, all they're good for is cooking. And I'm like, I'm a terrible cook. The last thing you want me to be doing is cooking.
I mean,
I can do lots of things better than cooking.
That's so true. It's true. I could do everything that a man can do, and I can do it better.
And with less whinging.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I can look better doing it as well.
Yeah. I think the whinging is very key. Like, I remember my first ever job. No, it wasn't my first ever job. My first job in a pub. And I told them that I had a child. And he was 1. And they were like, oh, great. Give a busy mum stuff to do and you know it'll get done. Like, because we just organise our time, like, get stuff done. Women just not going to faff around. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but also it was like their excuse for trying to give you more work.
No, no, no. They were just saying, we know that you'll be like on top of it.
Oh, okay, good.
You can't give someone more work in a pub. You just work in a pub, don't you? It was as busy as it was busy.
I don't know. I never worked in a pub.
No, you
Okay,
worked in
carry
years.
on. She was a smart cookie.
She was a smart cookie. So she was from Saudi Arabia and she was doing her PhD. Now, I'm not sure exactly what her PhD was in, but she was a lecturer in microbiology. And when she was doing her PhD in Saudi, they said to her, I'm sure it wasn't just to her, like in general, they were saying English is the preferred language to do this PhD in, I'm guessing because it's more transferable or whatever reason. So she travelled to England in 2014 so she could study at Essex University to brush up on her English, just make sure that her English, there's a big difference between being able to speak conversational English and being able to speak English well enough to do your PhD in microbiology.
Yeah.
So she's just amazing, very clever, very kind. Her family just said she was a warm, bubbly, like good soul, and people just adored her. Outwardly, she was very quiet and reserved, but within her family, she was very loving. Now, she was living with her brother at the time in Essex while she was going to university, and he was also a student at Essex University. Now, a lot of the sources say that he was acting as her chaperone. I was like, I'm not really sure what that's about. So I called my aunt and she said that this is actually more to do with culture than it is to do with religion. So a lot of the time in cultures, if you travel to an unknown place, it's like you have someone there to look after you. Maybe I just took umbrage with the word chaperone because I was like, who is chaperoning this? But it is literally just to make sure that you're not there alone in and
in an unknown country as a single woman. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Yeah,
exactly. Now, I would love to describe what she looked like, but there is not a single photo of her anywhere.
What?
At all. So I also asked my aunt about this, and she said that it is within Islam, there is the idea that there shouldn't be photos of you. Now, obviously, that doesn't apply to. Not everybody adheres to that, and that's up to them. You know, we kind of take it. I'm so bad at explaining religious stuff, but like, not everybody follows absolutely everything in the Bible or the Quran or whatever. Like, there are levels to how serious you want to take it, and it's something to do with the fact that you shouldn't cry or be sad over photos and memories, because once someone is gone, they go back to Allah, and that's the circle of life.
Wait, is your aunt like an RE teacher or something?
No, she's just Muslim.
Oh, okay.
She's just Muslim, and she's also somebody who I can ask these really ignorant questions to, and she doesn't get offended.
Yeah.
Actually, Vicky, why don't you wear a hijab? And she doesn't mind like me asking questions.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I feel like that's what religion should be. Is that people?
Yeah.
Because you want people to learn about your religion without sounding aggressive, you know, as coming across as aggressive or being, I don't know, upset that they don't know enough about your religion. Like, I don't know, I just feel like there's so much stigma around talking about religion and learning about religion that, like, why shouldn't it just be an open and honest conversation about what people believe in?
And I do think it is a lot easier for me because of my background. So I come from a dual, how do you refer to it if it's dual religion?
Dual
like,
religion?
My grandfather was Muslim, my grandmother was Christian. So it was like I grew up with two kind of influences, and then followed none. So that was fun. But I do think that makes it easier for me because it's like, no, I'm not offending anyone. Like, it's part of my family history and culture as well. I just don't know as much about it as other people. So anyway, there are no photos of her. Absolutely none. On the 17th of June, Tuesday morning, quite like nice sunny morning, it's June, and she is heading into university. Now, usually she would walk in with her brother. However, she had earlier classes that day, and so she went in on her own. Now, what I would like you to do, have you got your iPad with you?
Yeah.
Can you Google Salary Brook Trail in Colchester? And I want you to tell me, like, how would you feel walking here by yourself on your own at 10:30 in the morning?
I don't know if this is the right answer, but I would feel quite Safe.
100%, right?
Oh,
It's
okay.
pretty, like you're walking 10:30 on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
Like,
open. There's like, I don't know. It just seems I do walks every single morning with my dog, and
I
so
do know that we feel slightly different because we have our dogs with us.
mm,
But to me, this is not a time that I would be on like high alert.
no, yeah, no. If it were pitch black and it was dark, or
Different
if it
story.
yeah, if it were like 2 hours earlier in the middle of winter and it was dark and there weren't any lights, yeah, yeah,
But
completely
June,
different story. But yeah,
no.
June, 10:30 in the morning, yeah, I would be fine walking there.
And they do talk about, okay, it's a secluded street and blah, blah, blah. But I just think that was because it's a quiet area. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not, what's the word? It's not got loads of cars going up and down it. So from behind, she is approached by someone wearing gloves, and completely out of the blue, he stabs her in her lower back and spins her around. He purposefully knocks off her sunglasses and stabs her through the eye. She falls backwards and her attacker stabs her through the other eye. Her attacker continues to stab her a number of times before leaving her bleeding in the street. Very violent, very quick attack, very brutal, and completely random.
Yeah.
So it seems like there was no altercation, there was nothing happened. She was just walking to university.
No robbery or anything like that.
Nothing.
Oh my God, that's awful, isn't it?
So, like, no, it doesn't seem like there's any motive. Like, what is
Mm.
the reason for this, right?
Yeah, it's
A
not
man
sexually
who lived
motivated either.
No. A man who lived nearby was looking for his missing cat. Imagine if your day isn't traumatic enough, like your cat's already missing, and he comes across the body of Nahid, and he was shocked by the level of violence that he saw. He said that her face was completely brutalized, as well as one of her eyes coming out of the sockets. So it's really, really horrific attack. The police arrive, and in the reports they note that she was wearing her hijab and her abaya, which is the abaya is like the long, very floaty dress, and the hijab is the bit that goes round the head. And the police say, okay, there's no evidence of it, but we are not ruling out the fact that this could be a hate crime.
Mm-hmm.
She was also wearing sunglasses, like I said, that had been knocked off her face, and she was carrying a rucksack. These items.
I just have one question. Is the hijab, might be a very ignorant question, is the hijab the one that covers the whole face or just
No.
the one that goes over your head?
Your hijab just goes around. These items are not that important, but they are items that are put out that try and jog people's memories. And I think the reason being for that is because there are no photos of her.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be like, this woman was carrying this bag. And they show a picture, and it's quite a distinctive bag, like it's a very, very yellow rucksack kind of thing. So it's really obvious, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they also release CCTV of the few moments that she is seen on her walk to the university to see if anyone comes forward with information. And like I said, it's very, very unclear. You can just see her outline. We're not seeing her face or anything like that. And the police are really quick to start their investigation. So on the 18th, the following day, Nahid's body has an autopsy done, and they determined that she had a fractured skull from where she fell backwards. The initial stab wound that had gone into like her lower back had damaged her liver. So that's like right hand side, just under your ribs. She had a stab above the left breast, which broke the rib, so it just shows how violent it was. Damage to the brain, which is from where she'd been stabbed through the eye. 8 puncture wounds that are not that deep, and that's very important. The pathologist says that these are not being done with much force, so there's some that are super violent, the knife goes all the way in, or the weapon or whatever it is goes all the way in. Some that are not so violent, more superficial. And immediately on social media and in some newspapers, I'll give you 3 guesses, Daily Mail, looking at you, they start talking about it being
Fuck you, Daily Mail! Fluff you, Daily Mail!
They're so problematic. I've seen so many problematic news reports where they've dramatised and what's the word? Made it really salacious and for headlines. Yeah. And there's a couple of times that I will talk about that. And immediately these rumours start, and the Daily Mail is saying like it's because she's a Muslim and blah 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 blah. And this is massively problematic because people are talking about revenge attacks, and the police, it's kind of like, we don't have time for this. Like, we want to find out who's done this. If it is a hate crime, let them find the person who's committed it. Don't be wasting their time chasing down like revenge attacks. And also, you don't know that that's the case. Don't deepen and widen these racial divides and cultural divides and religious divides that already exist. For what? Because we don't know. Oh, that annoys me so much. But anyway, only 3 days later, on the 20th of June, the police start to think, is it possible that this is not an isolated attack? And they start to recognise similarities between this case and one that had taken place on the 29th of March. Now...
Wait. They say this... Is there a chance that this couldn't be an isolated attack and they've noticed similarities? But, like, if his MO is a brutal stabbing, how... What
you will
kind
see.
of... Okay, sorry.
So, about 3 months earlier, at Castle Park, which is about 3.5 miles away from where Nahid's body is found, and where she was killed, James Atfield was having a sit down and, more likely, a nap in the park after he had been out drinking. So James was known as Jim to his family. He was 33 years old and he was described as loving, kind, funny man, and he was father to 5 children. Now, it seems that at the time of this happening, he wasn't having contact with his children, but not because of him being a bad dad or anything like that, but actually because 4 years earlier, he had had an accident where he'd been hit by a car. And he had been brain damaged, leaving him permanently disabled, and he was learning how to kind of do everything again. And so this had affected his relationships with his children, and one of the reports even says that he didn't remember his children, and so the mother of 4 of them, so it was 4 and 1, 2 different mums, the mother of 4 of them, she said actually it was in the kids' best interest, while he didn't remember them, to not see them, because that must be really upsetting for children. And they were thinking about now starting to reintroduce and relearn those things now that he was starting to remember them a little bit more. And so at the time that this happened, which is March, 29th of March 2014, he was learning how to live with these life-altering changes, and he was in semi-sheltered accommodation, which I believe just means like they have some support, but it's not completely assisted living. And so this Friday night, he goes out drinking, and later he was seen about 1 a.m. by a passerby who sees him basically having a nap, having a lie down in Castle Park. And they're like, mate, you all right? And he says, yeah. And they say, okay, just be careful. What would you do in that situation? Would you just leave them?
If I saw someone having a nap, I mean, I guess it depends on the situation. If it was a girl, I would definitely go over and help. If it was a guy, probably not.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning, sleeping in the park.
Yeah, if I had my wits about me and I wasn't drunk myself, and depending on the area, and if it was a girl and she was sleeping,
Drunk.
and it looked as if she was sleeping and drunk, then yeah, I'd probably wake her up and check that she was okay. But a man, no, I'd just leave him there.
We're going to call him Jim for this, but he's a lovely man, and he was lying there. And then someone else comes across him, and they have far more sinister intentions, and they can smell the alcohol. And this person, using the knife that they have on them, stabbed Jim first in the abdomen 4 or 5 times, then in the head and the eye, and they just kept stabbing. They then ran away, thinking that they'd seen a light and somebody was coming. At 5:45 that morning, a cyclist woman is going through on her bike through the park, and she comes across the body, but he is actually still alive. So Jim is still alive at this point, and calls the police, the paramedics, etc. And at 6:31 a.m. he was pronounced dead.
That's awful. Do you think that woman got a day off for that? If you called into work and said, sorry, I've just found this man dying on my way to work, do you think that your work would give you a day off?
Well, yeah, I'm self-employed, but
Okay, but if you weren't self-employed,
I think you could take it as a sick day. I don't think they would automatically be like, "Do you want a day off?"
I mean, even though you've just been traumatized.
Yeah, I work in schools. I'm traumatized every day. They don't care.
So true. Okay, carry on.
Oh, they'd be like, "Was it worse than teaching year 10s?" No, it wasn't. All right, we'll get yourself in then.
Yeah. No, okay, that's fair enough.
So the police go door to door. They're trying to find anything on like this seemingly random attack. And there's definitely a sense of fear in the local area. The police hand out 3,000 personal alarms to people. And this is not like a super quiet, deserted area. We know that. Somebody saw him at 1 a.m. Somebody then went past again at 5:45 a.m. So there is obviously people around.
Yeah.
The autopsy revealed that he had 101 stab wounds, including in his eye and under his right ear, which would have pierced his jugular. There were also a number of defensive wounds on his hands and arms, and many. Oh, you don't know that film. Sorry, that was not a good time to make a film joke.
What film is that?
Home.
Yeah, I've not seen that.
Men.
This is really inappropriate right now.
Sorry. I can't do it now. There was also a number of defensive wounds on his hands and arms, and there were also superficial wounds that, again, are just important. So it's like the knife hasn't gone in the whole way, and that becomes important.
How
later.
many superficial wounds?
They don't say exactly. There's 102. Are you trying to get me to say? Many. You're a problem.
No, I think you're the problem here, but
Now I have to cut that whole thing out.
go on. No, you don't.
The police start to build a timeline of James's evening in order to provide more opportunities to be like, did you see him here? Did you see him there? Did you see him anywhere?
What is wrong with you? Why are you turning into like a storybook character or a children's book reader?
This is what happens when I write things down. I should just do it like off the cuff. If I write it down...
You write it as if you're writing a book.
Yeah.
You're ridiculous.
So basically they want to jog people's memories of like, were you in the pub at the same time, or were you walking down this road at the same time? And they released CCTV footage of him having a drink at the bar at the River Lodge pub in Middlesbrough at 22:09 that Friday evening. And they say that they're unclear where he went between the pub and ending up in Castle Park. However, they're not clear on what time he actually left the pub, because the CCTV shows him literally like folding up his jacket, sitting down. So he could have easily stayed there for another few hours before he left.
Wait, but there's no more CCTV of him other than that? How would they not?
That's all they release. And I think they're just trying to not put out too much so that nobody gives false information. They also put out a request for a man and a woman who were sitting on a bench in the park, as they think, well, they might have seen something, because there was a man and a woman both smoking at about 11:30 p.m. and they think that they might have either seen someone walking through the park or seen Jim arriving at the park. They're not sure, but they want to talk to them. They also put out 3 e-fits of men that they want to talk to. I found this really odd because, to me, you put e-fits together if, like, you're suspicious of them. Do you know what I mean? Would you just do it if it was like, oh, this person was walking down the road at around this time, so we want to talk to them?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I'm thinking of, like, in the Gareth Williams case, and they put out an e-fit of this couple just because they thought that they had contact with Gareth, but
yeah,
they never said specifically that they were a suspect. It was just like they were in the building, and we want to speak to them because we don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well,
but I get
anyway,
what
they
you
put
mean,
out
like,
these
just,
3.
Yeah, Imagine if you were...
And also, these three men aren't together.
Yeah.
They're like separate occasions, separate places, everything. The way they said it was, has Jim being attacked by these three men. Also, one of them looks like Little Miss Piggy, which is hilarious.
But then also, you don't really know, like... I mean, how else would you get these people to come forward, you know? If they
No,
if
I
people
get
had
it.
specifically said, these are the people that we've seen, then... Yeah, I feel like that you have to...
I think they're just trying everything at this point. Now, the first man that they want to talk to, they say is a dark-haired man in his early 30s, had stubble, wearing jeans and a red checked shirt. And he was seen at about 11 o'clock on the 28th of March. The next man, a large, bald man, about 6 foot, was seen in the pillbox walk area at about 6:05 on the 29th of March, so 6:05 a.m. He is believed to be about 40 to 45 years old, was wearing a knee-length grey coat in poor condition and black jeans. He was carrying a blue plastic bag in one hand and a can of beer in the other. I just thought, I can literally picture that man walking down the road at 6:05 in the morning. Do you know what? I can smell that man.
No. Yeah.
And then there's the photo of him, and it's like, oh, okay.
Can I see the photo of him?
No, you'll see it afterwards. I'll show you afterwards. I don't
Why?
Because I don't want to give anything away. I'll put it here.
Yeah, but I want to see it now.
Okay, and the last one, we have late 40s, 22:25, so 25 past 10 in the evening on the Friday. Short hair, possibly balding, about 6'2". He was wearing a beige, you're looking it up, aren't you?
I'm trying to.
Beige knee-length coat, and the collar of the coat was turned up around his mouth, so they can only see him, like, from here. Have you found it yet?
No.
Just type E-fit in James Atfield face.
Why is his face like that?
The other two are quite good E-fits.
He looks like a sim. Like, it literally
He
looks
does look like a sim.
Oh my god.
He looks like the sim burglar.
Yes! Yes! Oh my gosh, he does. That's so funny. Okay, go on.
He looks like the sim burglar who comes in while your people are drowning because you've removed the ladders.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good times, good times.
Good times, good.
You're going to have to tell me all about that third person because I was not
he was
paying attention.
He was just, you can see him in the image, late 40s, short hair, possibly balding, 6'2", and was wearing like a long, or like beige knee-length coat with the collar turned up. But it's not clear why exactly they're looking for them. Like, do they just want to talk to them? Do they think they might have seen something? Do they think they're involved? Another man was arrested, but he was released, no charge. And the whole investigation just feels like they are trying to find anything that they can, but nothing is following up. Like, nothing is... No, they're not getting anywhere with anything. The other thing that they want is they want to talk to somebody who James mentioned on Facebook. So I think he might have like posted about her. Okay. And she sounds really dodgy. Like, the only thing they say about her is he mentioned her on Facebook and she liked pottery. And I just think, what a freaking problematic character.
Oh my god, she sounds like an Asbo child.
And anyway, she'd been on holiday and she got back on the day that he was killed. So they were desperate to talk to her to find out, like, you know, what's going on there.
Wait, can we just, like, clarify that you don't actually think that people that do pottery are problem children? It's that you're making fun of me for doing pottery? And it was a personal attack to me. Because imagine if we have listeners that love pottery and they think, oh, wow, we're really being attacked right now. But it's not you, it's me.
I literally forgot you even did pottery. I genuinely, like, wasn't even thinking about you. You are so self-obsessed. I don't know why you thought that was about you. I just genuinely think people who do pottery are really problematic people.
Okay.
I've never met a person who does pottery, you and my sister, who are not problematic people. Okay, cool. Thanks. Glad we got that cleared up.
So looking forward to making all of these mugs and stuff that you've asked for. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Not seen any of my bespoke designs for those ones.
Well,
Having
yeah.
a new kitchen fitted, I wanted my mugs.
Guess
I
it's.
want a
Guess
whole
I'm
set
just.
of plates, mugs, bowls, everything.
Guess I'm just too problematic.
Well, you are if I don't get them.
Uh,
Anyway, they also arrest a woman, but she's released on bail. So she can't have been arrested for murder because
No.
you don't release someone on bail for murder. Crime Stoppers puts out a £5,000 reward to see if anybody comes in with new information, and I couldn't find what came from it, but I'm sure there was loads of tips. But can't you just imagine the tips that came through for, like, that's my husband? I love it when they do that. All of a sudden, the angry wives and girlfriends call up and they're like, do you know what? He did come home really late on Friday night and he did stink.
I feel like every single time we talk about somebody giving a reward, it just makes you laugh thinking of all of the angry wives and girlfriends. Like, I don't think we've ever spoken about someone asking for a reward without you mentioning the fact that you
I think it's because the police were saying, like, whoever this person lives with, like, whoever their person is, parent, sibling, couple, like, whatever it might be, someone's got to know something.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you don't rock up for, I don't know what, like, they don't know what time it was at the minute, but it's got to be before 5:45 in the morning and after 1 a.m. in the morning. You don't rock up at that time after having stabbed someone 102 times with absolutely no evidence that you can hide from everyone. Like, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, but that's assuming that they're not like a loner, like a sociopath, you know? Like, that's assuming that they have a family and they're not completely estranged.
But that's why I like it that the wives and girlfriends call up, because they're like, yeah, he did come home really late. And yeah, he was hiding his clothes.
He's cheating on you, lady.
Yeah, that was perfume, babes, not blood.
That was makeup stains on his collar. I'm sorry. He didn't murder anyone, but you should look for a divorce lawyer.
Or kill him.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't condone that. That's a bad idea. Just leave. Run. The police put out requests for over 20 people to come forward saying, you know, we think you were on CCTV here, there, whatever. Please come forward so we can talk to you and see if there's anything that we can look at. Another man is arrested towards the end of April, but again, the police don't release what he's being held on. And there's a renewed attempt to find that couple, the ones who were sat on the bench. And they do come forwards. They might have been pushed forwards, not sure, but they do find them and they speak to them and they're going to be interviewed. So at this point, we have a man and a woman who've been arrested. We know that the woman is out on bail. Separate to that, we have a couple who have now been identified and are believed to be key witnesses as they were sitting on the bench not far from where Jim was lying down. And these types of inquiries just keep going. Nothing really like coming up with any significant results until we get to the 20th of June, 3 days after the murder of Nahid, and the police are now thinking, are these linked? We have really obvious similarities. No motive, random attack, brutal, stab wounds to the face, the eyes, really frenzied is the word that comes up over and over again. However, it is so rare to see there being absolutely no pattern at all. So we have a white British man killed middle of the night, early hours of the morning in a park. We have a non-white, non-British woman killed in the day. Like, no similarities. They have nothing to do with each other.
And how far away were they? So it was Colchester and Middlesbrough, was it?
No. They're like 3.5 miles away from each other.
Oh,
like,
really? Okay.
Super close. I'll put a map up, but it was something like a 9-minute drive.
Oh, okay. Super
it was
close.
really, really close. So while the police can see that there's obvious similarities, they're like, no, we're going to do these as two separate cases, because the last thing you want to do is do them as the same killer and then get tunnel vision and so on and so forth. So the police first, they drain a lake closest in attempt to find any evidence or the murder weapon, thinking someone might have flung it in.
Wait, closest
to where Nahid was killed.
Okay, sure.
Because now we're in June. And the press release, they've drained one lake, they're now going to drain the next two. And I thought, was that tactical? Like, did you want someone to be sweating? Because if you've hidden something in a lake and then they are saying we're going to drain these lakes, you'd be sitting there thinking, oh my God. Or you haven't hidden anything in your lake and you're like, idiots. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Why would you say that? Anyway, the police release descriptions of two individuals that they want to talk to. One guy, late teens to 30. That's usually how I'm described, not, listen to this, right? You tell me what his hair looks like. Very black, thick hair, which was quite short, and a 2 to 3 inch mop style on the top. Is that saying he's got, like, the curls short here?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Kind of like my brother's hair.
Well, yeah, but like short back and sides and like a big old, kind of like how they, in Peaky Blinders, and they've just got this like weird bit on the top. But
oh my God, did I tell you
thicker.
when I was at the hospital the other day, I saw the guy from Peaky Blinders?
Which one?
Definitely not Cillian Murphy. Can you imagine? I'd have died. No, the one who's shot in the head with sheep's brains. He gets PTSD after World War One.
Spoiler alert.
Everyone's seen Peaky Blinders season 1.
Oh,
this is the first episode.
That guy. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
And he says, "Take care of my Rosie."
Danny Whizbang.
That's the one. I want to be buried on a hill. Yeah, I saw him. Didn't say anything, but I was like, "Dad, look, it's the guy from Peaky Blinders." And Dad was like, "We're in a really posh area. I'm sure there's loads of celebrities around here." I was like, "Okay."
Okay, just dropping in the fact that you go to the hospital in a really posh area. Cool.
Yeah, do you know how far it is for me to get there from this area? Jesus Christ.
Privilege check.
No, I go to the NHS hospital next to the private hospital. It's a lovely hospital, though. They have a Marks and Spencer's in there, so I like getting a coffee and stuff. Anyway, he was said to be wearing baggy trousers and a distinctive jacket, which is described as being an Italian designer item. Don't know how they knew this, but I want you to imagine like
this is
suede.
The teen to 30-year-old.
Yeah, suede, kind of mustardy tan colour. Maybe would come down just over your butt, waist belt in the middle. Not my kind of thing, but
like a trench coat type thing, but
little
just
bit
not long.
Yeah, and the collar being like the trench coat collar as well. And he was said to have been walking from the university towards Greenstead Estate between 10:20 and 10:40. So Nahid was walking towards the university at about 10:30. So they could very easily have crossed paths. They also want to talk to a man who was wearing a red hoodie who was running along Hughes Road at 10:50, which is about a 4-minute walk according to Google Maps. However, Google Maps, I don't know if you've noticed this, like they do it based on like how slow people walk. So like if I'm walking with my walking stick, it will take 4 minutes. If you're running, it's like a 1-minute run.
Yeah.
So,
but wait,
especially if you're running away.
He was running for exercise or he was running because he was suspicious? Okay.
I mean, do you run in a hoodie?
I mean, in June, probably not, no.
No. Young guy, hoodie up, Hughes Road. I think it was like from where she was, down that road, turn right, turn left into sort of more of a close kind of thing. But anyway, by Sunday the 22nd of June, so she was murdered on the Tuesday, by the 22nd, the body had been returned to the family in Saudi. And by the first week of July, the investigation has expanded. The police have searched 48 private gardens and have dredged 468 drains. Wow. So they are really like looking everywhere. Obviously, the family is devastated and they are working with the liaisons to you know, ensure not only that they have support, but that they're involved as well in the investigation.
And what are they looking for? Just evidence, like, or specifically the murder
Yeah,
weapon, or
murder weapon, I'd say most
Mhm.
likely, because that they don't have that, and so
Yeah,
there's no like link.
to the murderer. Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
it's very hard to get away with murder nowadays. Do you think? Like
Yeah, yeah. I get what you
like to
mean.
be able to. Do you remember when we did that Essex lorry murder and it was like they found a broken SIM card on the
Mm,
floor and a phone in the drain and they still managed to work out
yeah,
that you'd called a pay as you go number down. It's just wild.
yeah.
Wild. And
Wild.
so the police are still running 2 separate investigations and they've explained that the wounds are so like they're not clean cuts.
Mm,
They're so frenzied and like vicious that
hmm
there's no way to even know if the wounds have like the same weapon has been used with Nahid
Oh.
and with Jim. So they don't know
hmm
if it's the same weapon. They can't link it in that
hmm
way. And the investigation continues, and there's very little forensic evidence, seemingly no motive, no definitive evidence to say that these two are linked, and people in the area are really, really nervous because there's no targeted
Yeah.
demographic, there's no time, there's nothing like that. The police bring
Anyone
in
could be the next victim, you know? Yeah.
anyone. The police bring in about 70 people to interview, people who have just had police involvement in that area. Because, I mean, if 2 idiots like us know, you escalate with crime. So if you've been involved in this, and they talk to loads of people, so different ages, different crimes, you know, burglaries, everything. Like they're not picky. Local people aren't really going to parks and things because they're nervous, and hedges and bushes are all being cut back so that people feel that there's less place for people to hide.
Yeah.
But nothing is
Was
happening.
this otherwise quite a safe area? Was this, or was, like, what kind of area was this in? Was it a nice area? Do you know?
Um,
Like the
I
family neighborhood type place?
think it is like that. I don't know. However, it's a hard one to say because obviously when you look it up, the first thing that comes up is like the bad stuff. It's a
Yeah.
very pretty area. There's a lot of families. I know there's schools in that area.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
kind of semi-rural, so it's where
Mhm.
you'd maybe move if you were moving out of London but didn't want to go into the countryside.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say. But nothing comes up with this investigation. Nothing, they don't find anything until May 27th, 2015. So,
So it's
over
almost
a,
a whole year.
over a year since the murder of Jim, and just nearly a year, like 11 months since the murder of Nahid. It's a Tuesday morning, around 10:30 in the morning, and we have a 41-year-old woman, Michelle Sadler, Sadler, Sadler,
I'd say Sadler.
and she's walking her dog, and she sees this young man standing on the little bridge over the stream or the brook, and something about him just makes her feel, ugh, like it's 10:30 on a Tuesday morning, but she feels funny. Her spidey senses go up, and she turns around and she walks in the other direction.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Get that dog to safety immediately.
And that first thing was, I was like, never be too embarrassed to do that. That woman, she knew what was up. She was like, no, not comfortable walking away. But as she's walking away, she bumps into somebody that she knows, and she mentions fucking weird little weasel standing over there on the bridge. I don't know exactly what she says, but she's like...
So that must be it, pretty much.
That's the gist of it. Like an absolute
weird little weasel standing on the bridge over there.
There's some little grub that's just looking a bit funny over there. Yeah. And together they decide to go back to see what this guy is doing. So it's like safety in numbers, here we go.
Is this 2 women, or was there a person that she knew?
It doesn't say.
No.
It doesn't say. And at this point that they see that he has moved and he is now standing underneath a tree. And she's like, absolutely no way. What the frig is this guy doing? And she calls the police.
But wait. But what is he doing? He's just standing there.
Being a little creep.
Yeah, but what? I don't know if I would have called the police.
No,
Like, what?
exactly. But I think firstly, this whole area is kind of in panic mode. There's been 2 unsolved murders. And secondly, call the police. He's a fucking freak.
Okay, but why is he a freak? Like, I don't understand. He was just standing
Trust your
there.
instincts. Trust your gut.
Okay, but he was just sometimes I just stand, like,
And if somebody saw you and thought she's dodgy doing her pottery and called the police on you, I'd say, do you know what? Fair enough.
Okay, but so he'd moved to be under a tree, and she was like, absolutely the fuck not.
Yeah, because he looks like he's trying to hide behind a tree.
But then, first of all, he was on a bridge. He could have been hiding in the middle of a bridge.
No, he was just standing there.
Oh.
Why are you questioning her spidey senses?
I'm not. I'm just trying to understand. But okay.
This is what you call, I don't know what it's called, but when you question a woman, don't do it. This is how the police phone call goes. Hi, I wonder if you can help me. It's a very suspicious guy down there. He's just standing there. And it's like, obviously a dog trail, and he's just on his own, and it's quite a secluded area. He's got thick, dark glasses. I don't know if that makes... I don't know. It's just... something's not right. I get it. Do you not remember when I told you about the weird man creeping out the bushes?
Yeah.
And going to talk to Leo?
Oh, no.
Yeah, you do, because Arlo went after him.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
Until he spoke... No, actually, to be honest... You don't go and speak to a child, that's weird.
Well, yeah,
anyway,
no, you don't go and speak to a child. But I mean, I'm trying to think of...
If I was walking through the park and there was like a weird guy like...
You would be like, he deserves to go to prison just for looking like that.
No, but I'm just concerned. You know, like, what are you doing?
What do you mean? What are you doing? People aren't allowed to live their lives.
Yeah, some people...
Right, if this wasn't if all of these murders hadn't happened and you weren't telling me about this story, and I had called you and said, oh, I called the police today because there was this man that was just looking really weird.
I'd have been like, good, and well done. Did your tummy hurt? Did it give you butterflies? Was your butthole falling out? And you said, yes, Catherine, I felt really nervous. And I said, that's okay, baby. Did you then call the police? And you said to me, yes, I did. I'd say, well done for being so brave.
And you said to me, what was he doing? And I said, well, he was just standing there. And you said, well, where? And I said, just on my dog walk.
Okay, change it. What if Lee growled at him? Then you know he's a dodgy one and you'd call the police. Anyway.
I still probably wouldn't have called the police, though. I still, just for him standing there not doing
do you know
anything.
What? That's fine. You'd be dead. Because you don't listen to your spidey senses enough.
Okay, I do listen to my spidey senses. I just don't. What
would you do then? Run away and let him kill the next person? She's like, yeah, I would.
I don't think that there's reason enough. Though I don't think there would have been reason enough for me.
Stop scratching that.
Sorry, I don't think there would have been reason enough for me to call the police. But maybe that's where I'm wrong.
Well, anyway, Michelle did.
Yeah, and what did the police say?
She
did
was
they come
like,
and check it out?
Yeah, she was like, there's a fucking little weasel face over here. The police arrived, and PC Scott Loomis arrived to speak to him, and he says to him, have you got anything on you that you shouldn't? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he's got a knife in his pocket.
Big knife or butter knife?
No. You are really adamant you're going to give this guy like some way too much slack. No, he didn't have a freaking butter knife. He had a full-on knife.
A knife.
A knife. And he was wearing rubber-gripped gloves. Dodgy.
Well, didn't say that in a police report, did she?
Well, she didn't go that far, like that close to him.
If someone was wearing rubber-gripped gloves and just standing there, then yeah, I probably would have been like, that's dodgy.
He was wearing gloves.
Yeah, but if it was just a man, I mean, I feel like that makes a difference. Okay.
Well, I don't know if the gloves were the thing that gave her the spidey senses, but maybe it was just his whole dodgy demeanour.
Wait, I've got a...
He was arrested, and he is only 16 years old. His name's James Fairweather. He's arrested for carrying a knife. So who is he? An absolute little shit cunt, if I'm honest.
He's the murderer, isn't he?
He's an absolute little waste of space. So apparently he started off alright, like wasn't the worst in the world, and then became an utter dick at school. Violent, aggressive, constantly getting excluded. And they also talk about the fact that he desperately wanted to be a serial killer, like had a lot of material on... Yeah, that was his aims in life. Dream big, you fucking loser. And they found material in his house about Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Now, nothing that they found... Okay, what he had alone does not make him a bad person. Like, if you looked at my search history and you looked at the books I read and all of those things...
Yeah, what if he was a podcaster?
He wasn't, though. He was just... I think a big part of this was to make a good headline.
Yeah.
Like, Yorkshire Ripper inspired murderer.
Yeah.
I think it was just to make it a bit salacious.
You're liking that word today, aren't you? Salacious.
I like that word when it relates to headlines. Because I feel like I don't have another word for it. It's not clickbait, but it's clickbait. Do you know what I mean? What's a headline that's clickbait, but it's not clickbait because you're not clicking it?
Salacious.
See? Anyway.
Oh, God.
When he is interviewed by the police, he admits to what he's done. And this is what he says. Early on the 29th of March, basically like middle of the night early, James, murderer James, that's why we were calling the victim Jim, he climbs out of his window, because he's so small and runty, he can do that, because he doesn't want to use the front door to disturb his parents. So he climbs out the window and he wants to go and find somebody to kill. So he takes a knife with him and he's wearing gloves and he finds Jim asleep. He knows he can smell the alcohol and we know that he stabs him 102 times. He says he gets home at 2:30 a.m. Now, I'm not sure I entirely believe his timeline because let's be honest, this is a year later and he's clearly not, you know, the brightest spark. But let's say we go by his timeline. That means that when Jim was found at 5:45 and still alive, this poor man had been bleeding out for 3 hours and 15 minutes. He took the knife home, washed it, and then got rid of it in a stream. So it wasn't water that was sat still. It would away. 3 months later, he murdered Nahid. Same thing, no reason, no motive, just wanted to kill someone. And Nahid was pronounced dead at 11 a.m. Once he'd done that, the murderer ran away, got rid of the knife in a stream, put his clothes in a bin bag, and waited for them to be collected by the rubbish trucks.
Was he the person running in the red hoodie?
I think so, yeah. I think so. Just a few weeks later, after Nahid's murder, James was called in by police as one of the 70 people who were going to be interviewed because they had previously been involved with crimes or police involvement or whatever. And he had been involved in robbing a shop at knife point. So he was interviewed with his mum and they were like, yeah, he's fine, let him go. In his police interviews, the murderer admitted and also reenacted the murders. He was like, can I stand up to show them how he did it? And he was like, yeah, I did this and I did this and I did that. However, while he was being held on remand in a youth offending institution, youth offenders place, he denies it and he says, no, there's voices in my head and they made me give a false confession. So during the interview, he had said that the voices made him do the murders. Now he's saying that the voices made him give a false confession. The judge will later say that he thinks he admitted to all of this in the police interviews because he just loved it. Like, he couldn't help himself. He loved the attention. He was an absolute attention whore. And then he sticks with this one, the one that the voices made him do the false confession. He sticks with that all the way up until January of 2016, when they find DNA evidence linking him to the murder of Nahid. Now, I tried to find out exactly what the DNA evidence was, but I couldn't. But what I am guessing is that either he's left something on her, or it was to do with the fact that there was the bloody clothes that was put out, or something like that. When the trial starts, there's absolutely no doubt that he's killed these people. So because he's now admitted and he's pled guilty to manslaughter. So the prosecution is saying that these were premeditated. He went home afterwards, he cleaned up, he hid things, etc. He knew what he was doing. The defence is saying he should be not guilty or guilty of manslaughter by way of diminished responsibility. The defence calls 3 psychiatrists to testify who all claim he was having a psychotic episode when he committed these murders. However, Dr. Joseph, we love him, he was brought forward by the prosecution and he says no, he was not psychotic and he does not believe in these hallucinations. He's just trying to reduce the amount of responsibility that he has to take for this. Within court, it's presented that the murderer was repeatedly excluded from school for violent behaviour, biting, headbutting, kicking, and when he has these hallucinations, he dreams of hurting people and rape, etc. He then went on to say, yeah, I did it, but I don't remember doing it. I must have done it because of the DNA evidence, but I don't actually remember doing it.
Oh my
he
God,
never mentioned
so he was
hearing
also
voices.
having a psychotic break when he was just randomly standing under that tree on the day that he was caught. He was just standing
Which he
there.
also said that he had been looking for a third victim on that day. He never mentioned hearing voices until his arrest. And when he was arrested, that's when he started talking about the voices. So when he was previously interviewed after Nahid's murder, he never said anything about this. There was no background of that whatsoever. And now his dad is saying, oh yeah, when I was younger, I heard voices too. Shut up!
Okay, it's also... Is this hereditary? Is that a thing?
There is an increased chance of these kind of conditions being passed down. However, if you had that and then your child is acting like this, why are you not getting him help? Don't be coming to his court hearing and saying, oh yeah, I heard voices too.
Oh yeah, like for my son. No,
yeah,
dickheads.
He can't do anything wrong, no. And he says he was bullied at it's all the normal stuff. Oh. He was bullied at school. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I'm not a psychopath.
And when he had a girl be rude to him, he would dream about raping her and things like that. I was like, no, maybe girls just didn't want you little lech around them.
Oh my gosh.
And he told the doctor he liked serial killers, he watched violent films, he played violent computer games. The voices started after he started watching the violent films. One of them, which someone hid and then jumped out on their victims. He watched documentaries about the Nazi Party. Like everyone watches documentaries about the Nazi Party. Are you watching right-wing documentaries or are you watching World War II documentaries? Calm down. He hated gay people, disabled people, prostitutes and drug addicts.
So everyone.
He wanted to join a Whoa. Yeah, I do fall it. Yep, disabled over here.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to join a fascist group. He liked the idea of cannibalism. He said when he was
He liked the idea of cannibalism.
Yeah.
I like the idea of going to Italy for a holiday. Nobody likes the idea of cannibalism.
Apparently this little dweeb does. He was attacked by 2 men as a teenager and that made him angry. And when he was being bullied, that's when the voices started. And it just goes on and on and on and
Woe
on.
is me.
And Dr. Joseph is like, this is utter... I'm not a veterinarian, but I can smell bullshit.
That,
okay?
Yeah, go on. You tell him, Dr. Joseph.
Yeah. He says a number of the hallucinations and says it's not believable and it sounds, I mean, I'm not an expert, but to me what it sounds like is a child trying to pretend that they have hallucinations and they're copying what they've seen in a film.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
And also, he said he doesn't remember what happened, but he would regularly go back to the sites where it happened and sit on a bench there. So he's obviously just reliving the thing, but he doesn't remember actually what happened, so...
Vile.
It is quite clear, and this was said by some very, very clever people in the court, but I do agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be true. He wants to distance himself and absolve himself of responsibility. It's the child's answer. It's like, oh yeah, I did, but they made me do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you think you're clever and you're not. He also tries to claim diminished responsibility because while he was in the Young Offenders Institute, he was diagnosed with autism. The absolute cheek.
What?
The absolute audacity. Pipe down.
And the judge... The thing is that this kid knows nothing about mental illness. No. Really. And he's just trying to throw everything out there thinking that it's an excuse when really...
And the judge is like, sorry, you can't be tainting people with, you know, who have autism with your nonsense.
Exactly. Just because you're neurodivergent, it doesn't mean
you're
that
it's
okay to murder people. Like, no.
So, he had pled guilty to manslaughter, but not to murder. And the Crown prosecution was like, no, we don't buy that. So when he was found guilty, it was murder. Now, first question I have, where does he keep getting all these knives? These are not kitchen knives. These are like bayonet knives. One of them is a bayonet knife. Where does he keep getting them?
You can order them online.
I know, but I don't believe that someone in his world didn't know what was going on. He started this when he killed someone when he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
15. He robbed this place when he was 14, the shop. And so either these parents are just no, they're just not paying attention. They're just, I don't. Anyway, someone in his circle knew something.
Mm-hmm. They saw something and recognised something and they didn't do anything. Yeah.
100%. Now, sentencing is a long process. The sentencing reports always make me sleepy. Yeah, sentencing reports are long. But the judge talks about what this would have been had he been an adult. He said it wouldn't have qualified for a life order, but wouldn't have qualified for a life order. However, the starting for each one would have been 30 because of the sadistic nature. Then you have your factors, your mitigating and your aggravating factors. And he said that no, they weren't vulnerable because you didn't know that they were disabled, as in Jim. However, he did have diminished capabilities because of the fact that he was drunk and you chose somebody who couldn't necessarily fight back. And when he attacked Nahid, although she wasn't vulnerable, she was quite a small woman, she was 5 foot.
And you stabbed her in the back first?
Yeah. And also, when he was asked about it, he said she should not have been walking there alone as she should have known that there was a murderer in town.
I just want to slap him around the face. Like, so hard. You know?
The judge also says that the superficial knife wounds, you know, the ones that I kept going on about, he said that they were not only showing that he was in control of what he was doing. This was not a frenzied attack that you don't remember. You were controlling the knife to cause pain. But there was also a level of sadistic pleasure in that. And also, when he hit Jim in the eye, he would have gained pleasure from that, which is why he tried to reenact it when he killed Nahid. Also, he killed Jim only 3 days after he had ended his year's worth of supervision for the robbery. A lot of the time for youth offenders, they give them the option of having a yacht worker, so a youth offending team worker, and regular check-ins and therapy and all of that kind of stuff. Or you can go into a youth detention centre. And they gave him the yacht worker and the like check-ins and stuff because they always want to try and avoid putting kids in that unless they absolutely have to. And he finished that supervised year 3 days before he killed Jim. So he was obviously hiding his psychopathic tendencies, which you can't do if you're having a psychotic break. Do you know what I mean? This is not something you turn on and off. He is sentenced to 27 years, which is actually really good considering that because he was a child, he could have only done 12. Like, the judge had to be quite harsh with the, what's it called? Is it the aggravating factors or the things that build it up?
Yeah.
And there were some mitigating factors and whatnot, but honestly, don't care. And then he can apply for parole, but I'm hoping the families will be there saying no.
So the thing is that if he's only 16, when in 27 years' time, what, he's going to be 43?
So he went to prison when he was 17.
So he's going to be 44 when he's up for parole. And a 44-year-old, they still have many years ahead of them. That if he is actually to get out, he could very well do it again, and I
think he would.
I believe that he would as well.
Yeah, I don't think he's got it in him to be, because I'll tell you in a minute, like what his attitude was when he was sentenced. Like, there was no remorse whatsoever. Yeah. So I'm hoping.
Scary, isn't it? It's scary.
I'm hoping that Jim's family, especially because they're in this country, will go to these parole hearings and make sure he does not get out. Jim's mother had to identify his body on Mother's Day, the Sunday morning, which I think. Ooh.
But also when your son is like that badly beaten and
awful. I think everything that he said was utter horseshit. I don't believe a word of it. In 2016, he appealed his sentence, as he said, that the lawyers had. The lawyer said that they felt sufficient weight was not given to his age, so he was like over sentenced considering he was technically a child when he did it. But I think it's past. Past the age of 14 is when you can have criminal responsibility. So yes, you're a child, but you're also still well aware of your actions. I'm not being funny. My 11-year-old is aware of his actions, so no. Absolutely not. The appeals judge said no, it was fine. They took excellent judge, took it into consideration, piped down over there. You're staying put. This is what the judge said, end of his sentencing remarks. You will serve a minimum term of 27 years, less the 339 days you have spent on remand. Thereafter, it will be for the parole board to decide when, if ever, you should be released. If you are ever released, you will remain on licence for the rest of your life. Look him up now. James Fairweather.
So when somebody, if he's got 27 years, but it's 27 years to life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he could stay there forever.
Yeah. So he can get parole.
Ew!
Yeah.
Oh, God. He's so gross. He's so gross.
Yeah, he's so gross. He turned around to his parents or his mum after he'd been sentenced as he was being walked out, and he was like, I don't give a shit.
What a vile little cockroach.
Put him in the bin and leave him there. He doesn't deserve to get out. So that's another parole hearing that's added to our list. And that one, I think we should go to that one. 27 years.
Done. Well, it's not in 27 years. It's in 19.
19 years.
Done. Okay.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, God, I hate him. Oh, that one, angered me. What a little...
Yeah, I know, that one. I think it's because he was just so... there's not a redeeming factor. Yeah, no. There's not a redeeming factor anywhere. You honestly just die in a hole. Please go and follow us on everything. 26 to life
Everything.
_pod
Pod.
on Instagram and TikTok. 26 to life pod on YouTube and Spotify. We are working so hard to get these out because honestly we're so busy, but we love doing it, so we wouldn't do anything else. Rosie's going to tell me an episode in about 20 minutes once I've charged my phone, been for a wee and got a snack. Yeah, maybe it's a poop. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, Nan. Sorry.
No, we can't include that. That's so bad.
My mum won't listen to it because she's too grossed out by the torture, so I can talk about poo all I want. Okay, bye. I'll see you in a bit.
Bye. See you in a bit.